Why your cat sleeps with you. It's not what you think. Picture this. It's 2 a.m. You shift in your sleep, and there's a small, warm weight pressed against your leg that wasn't there an hour ago. Your cat walked past a perfectly good couch, an empty chair, and a sunny windowsill, and chose you instead. Most people call this love. It's not wrong exactly, but it's not the whole story either. What's actually happening is something far more calculated, and once you understand it, you'll never look at your sleeping cat the same way again. Because here's the truth. A cat choosing to sleep next to you isn't a feeling, it's a decision. And in the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what that decision is built on. No folklore, no wishful thinking, just the actual mechanics behind one of the most misunderstood behaviors in the cat world. The most dangerous 10 minutes of a cat's day. Start here because everything else builds on it. Sleep is the one moment a cat cannot defend itself. No claws ready, no escape route calculated, no eyes scanning the room. In the wild, this is exactly when a predator, or a rival, would strike. So a cat's brain treats "where do I fall asleep" as possibly the single highest stakes decision it makes all day. That's why cats don't just collapse wherever they happen to be standing. They test a spot. They circle it. Sometimes they'll sit near a location for days before actually committing to sleeping there. This isn't pickiness, it's risk assessment. And when a cat finally settles in against your side, it has run that risk assessment and concluded that you are not a threat. Your breathing is steady, your movements are known, your smell doesn't change overnight. To a cat's nervous system, that's the checklist for safe enough to go unconscious near. Routine is the real love language. Here's something most people miss. Cats are obsessed with pattern recognition. A world that repeats itself is a world that requires zero extra processing power. Same feeding time, same footsteps on the stairs, same person turning off the same light at roughly the same hour. Every repeated detail is one less thing the cat's brain has to stay alert for. This is why cats often gravitate toward one specific person in a household, rather than sleeping wherever is most physically comfortable. It's rarely about the softest blanket. It's about which human has the most boring, predictable evening routine. Predictability, to a cat, is the closest thing to a guarantee that nothing bad is coming. If this kind of "here's what's actually going on in your pet's head" content is your thing, this is exactly what this channel is built around. Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the next one, because there's a lot more of your cat's behavior we haven't even touched yet. A built-in space heater with a heartbeat. Cats run their internal thermostat on a tight budget. Every degree of body heat lost during sleep has to be earned back through food, and food means effort. So biologically speaking, a cat curled against a warm human body isn't romance, it's efficiency. You are, quite literally, the most stable heat source in the room, and unlike a radiator, you don't switch off. This also explains something a lot of owners notice without realizing why. Cats drift away from you in summer, sometimes choosing a cool tile floor over your bed entirely, and then reappear glued to your side the second the temperature drops in winter. That's not affection ebbing and flowing, that's a thermostat doing its job. You smell like nothing to worry about. Before a cat ever opens its eyes or perks its ears, it reads a room through scent. Smell is the first filter for, is this territory familiar and safe? And a person a cat lives with becomes, over weeks and months, a fixed coordinate on that scent map. Your sheets, your clothes, your skin, all carry a signature the cat has already filed under known, unchanged, no threat. Sleeping beside you means sleeping inside a scent zone that requires no investigation. That's also why cats will sometimes claim a worn hoodie or an unwashed pillow over a brand new cat bed. It's not sentimentality. It's the fastest route to that same feeling of, nothing here has changed. Still listening, even when unconscious. Even in a deep sleep, a cat is never fully offline. Its ears keep filtering sound, its whiskers and skin keep registering shifts in air movement. This is a survival leftover that never really switched off, even after thousands of years of living indoors with people. Sleeping close to a human effectively outsources part of that monitoring job. Instead of scanning an entire house from a random perch, the cat gets most of its environmental information from one trusted source: you. If your body stays relaxed and your breathing stays even, that's broadcast directly into the cat's nervous system as still nothing to worry about. A sudden jolt or tense movement from you, on the other hand, can pull a sleeping cat right out of deep rest. Proof that this arrangement is a two-way signal, not a one-sided cuddle. Quick pause here. If you're the kind of person who wants to actually understand your animal instead of just guessing, do yourself a favor and subscribe now. because from this point on, the video gets into the parts almost nobody talks about, and you won't want to miss it. Trust is trained, not switched on. Almost none of this comes preloaded. A cat isn't born knowing that your bed is safe. It learns it, night after night, the same way you'd slowly trust a new coworker after watching them behave consistently over months. Every calm, uneventful night where nothing bad happens gets logged. No sudden grabs, no being shoved off the bed, no yelling. That data accumulates, and eventually it tips into a habit. This is exactly why some cats take weeks or months before they'll sleep next to a new owner, while others seem to bond instantly. It's not a measure of how much they care. It's a measure of how much evidence they've collected. The checklist nobody sees. Here's a fact that stings a little. When a cat picks its sleeping spot, you are one line item on a list, not the whole list. Warmth, quiet, scent, elevation, an exit route, distance from other pets. A cat is weighing all of it simultaneously. Your bed usually wins because it happens to check almost every box at once, not because it's specifically yours. That's also why a cat can suddenly switch which family member it sleeps next to when the household routine shifts. It's not betrayal, and it's not a ranking system. It's simply the same evaluation running again with new inputs. Sleeping near you isn't the same as needing attention. It's easy to read a sleeping cat as craving closeness, but a cat that actually wants interaction behaves completely differently. It meows, paws at you, headbutts, refuses to settle until it gets a reaction. A cat that's genuinely asleep beside you is doing the opposite, opting out of interaction entirely. It's not waiting for you to notice it. It has already decided nothing needs to happen. That distinction matters because it means proximity during sleep is less, "I want you," and more, "I don't need to watch my back right now." Oddly enough, that quiet, unbothered presence often reflects a deeper level of comfort than the demanding, attention-seeking behavior we tend to associate with affection. Not every cat wants this, and that's not a red flag. Some cats never sleep next to their owners, and it has nothing to do with the strength of the relationship. Certain cats are simply wired to need total control over their space to relax. Any nearby movement, even from someone they trust completely, keeps their guard partially up. A rescue history full of being relocated or handled roughly can also leave a cat wired to protect its own space, no matter how safe its new home actually is. Personality plays a role too. More independent or sensory-sensitive cats often gravitate toward quiet, out-of-the-way spots specifically because stillness matters more to them than company. None of this is a verdict on the bond you share. It's just a different formula for the same goal, feeling safe enough to fully shut down. Same cat, two completely different animals. Ever notice your cat keeps you at arm's length all day, then presses right up against you at night? That's not mixed signals. It's two different modes running on two different schedules. Daytime is full of noise, movement, and activity. So a cat's brain stays partly in monitoring mode even while resting, which is why it often prefers a slightly removed vantage point during the day. Night flips the equation. The house goes quiet, the stimulus load drops, and the priority shifts from watching to recovering. That's when your steady presence becomes the most valuable asset in the room, and distance stops being useful. Independent by day, glued to your side by night isn't a contradiction. It's the exact same animal making two different, perfectly rational calls. The warning sign hiding in a sleep schedule change. Here's the chapter worth paying real attention to. A sudden shift in where or how your cat sleeps is one of the earliest, most reliable signals that something's off, often well before any other symptom shows up. Cats are exceptionally good at masking pain and illness while awake and moving around, but sleep, the moment they can't perform normal behavior, tends to expose what they're hiding. A cat that suddenly stops sleeping next to you and starts isolating in a closet, under furniture, or in an unusually quiet corner of the house may be doing something instinctive, seeking a defensible, low-traffic space because it doesn't feel able to protect itself as well as usual. This single behavior change is one vets frequently ask about first when something seems wrong, precisely because it shows up early. The reverse can matter too. A cat that never used to sleep pressed against you and suddenly starts doing it constantly, especially combined with lower energy or less interest in food, may be seeking your warmth and stillness because its own ability to self-regulate has taken a hit. Neither pattern is a guaranteed red flag on its own. Routines shift for all kinds of harmless reasons. But a sudden, sustained change is always worth watching and worth mentioning at your cat's next vet visit if it doesn't resolve within a few days. When there's more than one option, how a cat actually chooses. In a house with multiple people or multiple pets, a cat sleeping next to one specific person over all the others isn't a popularity contest, even though it can feel that way. The cat is running its usual checklist: warmth, predictability, scent, stillness, against every available option in the house, and whoever scores highest on a given night wins, literally. This is why the chosen one can shift over time without any drama behind it. A change in someone's work schedule, a new source of stress in the house, even a cold that changes someone's breathing pattern overnight can be enough to tip the cat toward a different person for a while. None of it reflects a ranking of who's loved more. Multi-pet households add another layer. Cats that get along fine during the day may still avoid sleeping in the same spot at night, simply because sleep is the one time neither animal wants to share vulnerability with a rival, even a friendly one. If your cat picks a human over another pet in the house every single night, that's less about favoritism and more about your predictability being easier to read than another animal's. The purr you're not supposed to notice. Most people assume purring is a straightforward happiness signal, but a cat that's purring while drifting off to sleep next to you is doing something a little more complicated than that. Purring sits in a low-frequency range that's been linked to lowering a cat's own heart rate, easing muscle tension, and even supporting bone and tissue repair, which is part of why injured or stressed cats purr too, not just content ones. In other words, a cat purring itself to sleep against you isn't only broadcasting contentment outward, it's actively using the behavior to downshift its own nervous system. Your presence gets it to a state calm enough to start purring, and then the purring itself deepens that calm even further. It's a feedback loop, and you're the trigger that starts it. This is also why a cat that purrs loudly when first settling in but goes quiet within a few minutes isn't losing interest in you. It's simply finished the job. The nervous system has downshifted all the way into actual sleep, and the purring has done exactly what it was there to do. Why your cat always claims the same spot. If your cat sleeps in the exact same 6 inches of mattress every single night, that's not a coincidence, and it's not just about which spot feels warmest. Cats build detailed mental maps of their territory, and a favorite sleep spot functions almost like a home base within the larger home, a coordinate the cat has fully tested and approved. That specific spot usually checks several boxes at once. It's got a clear sightline to the bedroom door, it's slightly elevated compared to the rest of the bed, and it's positioned so the cat can see you without you being able to easily reach over and grab it mid-sleep. None of that is paranoia. It's just leftover architecture from a species that, until very recently in evolutionary terms, needed to sleep defensively even while trusting its immediate company. This is also why moving furniture, switching which side of the bed you sleep on, or even changing your pillow can throw a cat's sleep routine into chaos for days. You haven't broken anything emotionally. You've just invalidated the cat's careful spatial calculations, and it has to start the testing process over again from scratch. What your cat's sleeping position is actually telling you. Not every sleeping position next to you means the same thing, and most owners never stop to notice the difference. A cat curled into a tight ball, nose tucked under a paw, is still running a partial defense program. The body is compact, vital organs are shielded, and it can be on its feet in under a second if something goes wrong. That's comfortable sleep, but it's not full surrender. Belly up is a different story entirely. The stomach is the single most vulnerable part of a cat's body, completely undefended, with no quick path back to a defensive crouch. A cat that sleeps stretched out on its back next to you isn't just relaxed, it has essentially disabled its own alarm system. This position shows up almost exclusively around people and environments a cat has fully, repeatedly verified as safe. It's less common than people think, and when it happens, it's worth noticing. Then there's the in-between, back pressed against your leg or curled into the crook of your knees. This one is about contact without commitment. The cat gets warmth and reassurance through physical touch, but keeps its front paws and face free, ready to react if it needs to. Think of it as trust with a small safety net still attached. And the position most owners misread completely. Head resting directly on your arm, hand, or chest. This isn't just comfort seeking. A cat's head and throat are extremely sensitive areas, and voluntarily resting them against another body is one of the clearest physical trust signals a cat can give. It's choosing to make its most exposed area someone else's responsibility for the next few hours. The quiet version of trust. When a cat finally settles in against you and lets its whole body go slack, it isn't declaring love the way we'd write it in a card. It's doing something arguably rarer, agreeing, without needing anything back, to be completely unguarded in your presence. No performance, no request for a reaction, nothing expected in return. Just permission, renewed fresh every single night, to exist next to you without needing to watch the door. That's the part worth sitting with. Not every relationship needs proof. Some of the strongest ones are the quiet kind, built one calm, uneventful night at a time, chosen freely, over and over again, simply because nothing has ever given them a reason not to choose it. If you made it this far, you clearly want to actually understand your cat instead of just guessing. So subscribe, drop a comment with what your own cat does at night, and I'll see you in the next one.